Hey guys, so the first step is to cast the resin heart that's going to go in the center of our piece. I am casting one in clear and then another I'm going to add blue body glitter to, just so that way I can have a couple of options when it comes to painting them. So once your pieces are ready, you want to go ahead and paint the backs of them. I'm going to be using a blue glittery nail polish, the same blue glitter that I mixed into the resin, and a deep blue glass paint that I found at Hobby Lobby. So like I said, I found this glass paint at Hobby Lobby. It comes in a few different colors and is really pretty once it's dry. The only downfall is that it does take at least an hour to 2 hours to dry completely, which is a very long time in my opinion. The only reason I'm using it for this is because I couldn't find nail polish in the color that I wanted. So the next step is to create a template that you're going to use for your foam and warbler. I am using a secondary heart that I cast just to get a general idea of the positioning. I've also already measured out the size that I want it to be in regards to my bow, so make sure that you take that into account before you start sketching. So as you can see, I'm only outlining half of the piece because when I go to cut it out, I'm just going to fold it in half to ensure that I have a nice symmetry on both sides. The next step is to just trace your template onto your foam and do that twice and then just cut them both out. One is going to act as your background piece and the secondary piece is going to sit on top and is going to offer kind of depth and embellishment. So now that my pieces are cut out, I'm just going to line them up, make sure that everything fits right, and taking the same clear heart as before, I'm going to outline it on my front piece, so that way I know exactly where to cut. Make sure that when you're cutting out your heart shape, you're cutting within the line that you drew previously, because if you cut on the line, it's actually going to cause the piece to not fit properly. So this is actually a second cutout of foam that I already had made. I messed up on the first one you saw me working on, so that's why I went from a red pencil to a blue pen. You will see that I had the little rectangles on the wings already marked out, and I now am just going to carefully cut them out with my X-Acto. Once one side is done, I'm going to do exactly like I did with my piece of paper and just fold the foam in half and start cutting the rectangles out from the other side. This way I can kind of ensure as much symmetry as possible with both of them. Once both of your pieces are done, just go ahead and carefully hot glue the edges together. You don't want to use too much because you don't want hot glue to kind of seep into the open areas. You'll also notice that I cut the crown off because I'm going to just sculpt that out of Warbler instead. After gluing everything together, just go in and trim up any overlap on the edges with your teeny tiny baby scissors. Now if you want, at this point you can just prime and paint the foam. It's still going to look really nice. The Worbla steps are completely optional. Now if you do decide to use Worbla, you'll need two pieces that are a little bit bigger than the foam piece. You're going to heat the smooth side of the Worbla just enough so you can work with it. You can definitely burn Worbla if you heat it too much, and that creates a much rougher texture that takes even longer to prime. Once the pieces are hot enough, just sandwich it in and use your fingers to very gently kind of smush in your details. Now back to using teeny tiny tools, I have a very small flathead screwdriver that I'm lightly pressing into the embellishments just to kind of straighten out my edges and make sure everything looks nice and like crisp and clean. Through the heating and shaping process of the Worbla, I'm still using my resin heart to make sure that it fits. The extra layer of Worbla on the foam can cause the piece to not have enough room, so you definitely don't want to just assume that it's going to work out. Once you're ready to cut out your piece, make sure that the Worbla is still a little bit warm. If you try to cut into Worbla that's double layered, that's already cooled down some, it's going to be very difficult and it will leave a lot of rough edges that you don't want to have to clean up later. Now a rule of thumb with Worbla is to never ever throw away your scraps, no matter how big or small, because as you can see they can be heated and kind of molded together like Play-Doh to be used later on for details. The extra piece that I'm sticking onto the back is just purely out of paranoia. There's nothing worse than something falling apart at a convention or during a contest, so even though Worbla sticks to itself really well, and chances are I didn't need it, I went ahead and added a little bit of extra support. And now our piece is ready to be primed, painted, and embellished, which I will do in video number 2 because this one is already way too long. See you next time.